Spokane Valley could become a sanctuary city of a different
Councilman
kind.
Caleb Collier says that this
I'm proposing that the city of Spokane Valley issue a proclamation stating that our city is a Second Amendment sanctuary city.
Welcome to the fire.
Today on Church and State, Brooke Shirley reports the news. Hello, Christian Patriots, and welcome to Church and State, where we drive morality and religion over tolerance and apathy. And I'm your host, Caleb Collier, once again, your favorite far-right shock jock, and the show that talks about politics and religion. Jesus Christ is our referee, so it's always nice and clean. Real quick, point you to the website, churchandstate.media. Fill out this form, get our newsletter, and of course, personal phone call from yours truly. While you're on the website, check out our most recent episodes, continuing to cover hard-hitting topics, bringing in really, really great guests. So share those with friends, family, and neighbors. Also, peruse the wonderful featured guest page. We've had some who's who over the years, and with every single one of those, if you click the name, it'll take you right to the episode. Also, peruse through the amazing affiliates that we have. These are companies that I believe in, that I shop with personally. With every single one of them, use that promo code Church and State. Many of them you'll get a discount, but regardless, you'll be helping to support us. And speaking of support, hit the donate button. We're already part of some incredible networks: NRBTV, Prepper Broadcasting Network, Your News, Newscasters. We're expanding. I told you already. We are going to be nationally syndicated starting mid-August, but we need your help, ladies and gentlemen. It costs a lot of money to do what we do, so please hit the donate button for us and keep us alive and well. Lastly, if you want to get a hold of us, churchandstate1776 at proton.me. With that, let's go ahead and bring on our guest. I'm pleased to bring Brooke Shirley to the show. Many of you will know her as the mother of Nick Shirley. She's an investigative journalist exposing corruption, traveling across the United States, bringing back the Constitution and the Republic that we love. Brooke, thank you for joining us on Church and State.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure. I've been following you and your son's work for some time, as has many conservatives in America. What brought you to, just being a mom, maybe with some belief systems, but realizing I got to get out there and do something?
Yeah. Well, it was mainly during COVID when we had the pandemic going on. And I actually went to January 6th with Nick. Nick was going to go. He was just right out of high school. And he thought he was just going to go there and make this video and leave. And I said, well, you know what, maybe I better go with you and I can rent the car. I'll drop you off at the rally. I'll go shopping and then I'll come back and pick you up. That's literally what I thought I was going to do. Quickly, I learned that that was not going to happen. So I did go to January 6th. I was there at the rally. I thought it was a wonderful, patriotic day. I just thought, the people that are around me right now, these are the people that are the warriors that are going to stand up and fight for our country. Nick went there to make a video acting like he was security and he was going to get to the front row and see Donald Trump on stage, which he did. Nick has been making YouTube since he was 15 years old, so making these types of videos was no big thing to me. Anyway, I went to January 6th. I walked down the street with Nick going towards the Capitol, and then I turned and went a different direction because I was done. I'd been there for 7 hours, no bathrooms, no nothing, so I was done. I said, I'm going back to the hotel. On my way going to the hotel, I spoke with one police officer that was on a horse, told me President Trump was going to drive down Pennsylvania Avenue. Then I talked to two other officers that were sitting in their car, looking at their phone. When I got to the hotel, the front desk ladies were saying, oh my gosh, look what's going on at the Capitol. They showed me their phone. And this man sitting on Nancy Pelosi's desk with his feet on the desk. And they said it was like a war zone down there. And I thought, wait, I was just there. Everyone on the subway with me said this was the best day of their life. And now what has happened? And then I thought, my son is down there. What's going to happen to Nick? Nick comes back hours later, so excited, thought he made the best video in the world. It's going to go viral. This is going to make him huge. And I said, son, this is going to put us in jail. Our house is going to be burned. Dad is going to lose his job, and you cannot post that video. After that day and watching what I saw in the news being reported, and as I talked to people, it really made me question what was going on. And I studied journalism in college. I wanted to be a broadcaster. I had a passion for it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to use my voice and I'm going to talk about what's going on. And at that time, Joe Biden had become president. and he opened up our border. I grew up in San Diego, California. I knew what an open border was. What was happening was not an open border. It wasn't the Mexicans coming over to work it was not that. And since 2020, I literally became obsessed with what was happening, and every day and every night, I would quickly watch mainstream media like CNN, NBC, ABC, Good Morning America particularly, see what they were talking about, and then I would find points that they were totally missing. And it was pretty easy because they were not talking about the bad things Joe Biden was doing. And at that time, I didn't even know who Tucker Carlson was. I didn't know Fox News. I didn't know nothing. I was just a mom raising 5 children, concerned about what was going on in our schools, what was going on with COVID, what was going on with our open border, and how Joe Biden was literally changing America. And I became obsessed with the open border. And leading up to that, Nick was doing his YouTube. He did post the video from the January 6th. It totally ruined his channel. And he began to see like something is going on here. How come we can't talk about Trump? How come we can't talk about the pandemic? And if we do, we're literally shut down. And so he went on, he wasn't political at all. He just started noticing this, and he continued to make YouTube. And then he went away for a mission for our church for 2 years. While he was on his mission, he went to Chile. I was home becoming Brooker T. Jones and obsessed with the open border and what was going on under Joe Biden. And then when Nick came home from his mission, on his mission, he would tell me how all these people from Venezuela were going to Chile. And why were all these people leaving their country? And I said, son, the same thing is happening here, but it is worse. So he came home December 2023. He went to a Turning Point event just to make a video because he still wanted to do YouTube. And he thought, I can't be making these prank videos. I need to get a little more serious now. So he went to Turning Point, and he didn't know Charlie Kirk. He didn't know nothing about it. He just went to make a video. And that was in Arizona. And I said, go to Lukeville, Arizona, and start videotaping people as they're coming across the border. And that's what he did. And that was December 2023. He posted that video just a couple days after Christmas, the people coming across, and it went massive. And the people that he met at the border, they were sent to New York City. Once they got to New York, they were calling Nick and asking him, what do we do now? Like, what should we do? And so we said, we're going to New York City, and we are going to see where these people are at. And January 2024, we were in New York City, going to the shelters, the hotels, the Port Authority, the train station where all the migrants were coming in. And our life has not stopped since then. Every week, we've been in different parts of America, different parts of the world, covering what is taking place here. And as a mom and as a concerned American, I just couldn't sit back any longer and let our fake media lie to us. I couldn't do it. And I thought, I'm just one person, but I have a voice. But I knew my son, Nick Shirley, I knew he could do it.
What I love about your story is, you're an American. You're just an average American. You've got a pretty decent life, and you saw some wrongs, some ills in the world, and you're like, I can't just sit back here. I can't just yell at my television, go and vote every 2 or 4 years, and expect something different to happen. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make a difference. I want every American to follow your lead on this.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I just felt like we can't just sit back. We can't sit back and be stepped upon. Our kids can't go to school and feel bad because they were born in America and they're Christian and they're white. They can't feel bad about it. My husband can't lose his job because he's an American dad trying to provide for his family, but he doesn't fall into these different categories. It was just like, what is happening? And we're all too afraid to say anything about it. And we're all too afraid to stand up. And so I just said, I have to stand up. It was just, I feel like God just gave me this to a voice, and he said, go use it. And Nick, he'd been making YouTube since he was 15. He can edit, he can make incredible videos. I cannot do that. But while he was on his mission, I had everything in my brain because I'd been so focused on it and studying up on, and I just knew everything that was going on. So the two of us together were able to use our skills and go attack it. And It's been amazing. Nick now, knows everything that's going on in America. But at the beginning, we both needed each other to make this go.
Sure. Yeah, that makes absolute sense. Let me ask you this. Do you think Nick's political journey, that his mission trip in Chile was part of that? I mean, Chile has a really interesting history with the freedom movement, and then ultimately we all kind of watched as it crumbled. But do you think being down there actually assisted in how he viewed politics?
Yeah, I think it did play a little bit of a part in it, because while he was in Chile, they were having elections, and the people were they were up in an uproar about it. They were afraid of the people that were being elected and how it was going to change their country. And then in particularly the Venezuelans that were coming in. And to him being, just a 19-year-old teenager, seeing these people just leaving their country and leaving everything to come to Chile. But then once they got to Chile, the Chileans, they weren't happy about the Venezuelans coming. And the Venezuelans couldn't work. It was just like this one, he was just wondering, what is happening? What is going on? And he started realizing that political leaders actually do make a huge difference in our world, a huge difference. And they can either make it or they can break it.
Yeah,
and
you're
if you
absolutely
have
right.
followed Nick, he did some things really cool. He went to El Salvador, and he showed how a good president can change a country. And I have another son who served a mission in El Salvador when it was gang controlled. And so him and Nick went back together and showed how a good president can change a country.
Yeah, I mean, that is such a great point right there. El Salvador, which, it was on the U.S. government's list of countries of do not travel here because of how dangerous
the most dangerous place in the world.
Yep, exactly. And now through different leadership, it's become quite a spot. I mean, as far as conservatism, going back towards more nationalism, punishing crime, it's a very safe country now. Who would have thought?
Yeah, it's safer than here. It's safer than here because of a good leader who has morals, who has common sense, who wants safety for their citizens. Because in El Salvador, when my son lived there, if your grandma lived 2 streets over, you couldn't go and visit your grandma because a different gang controlled that area. So you were literally stuck on your street, in your neighborhood.
Wow.
It was very, very awful what was going on because the gangs controlled it. And that could happen here in America. It does. Some cities in America are gang controlled.
Absolutely, they are. So let's move into the corruption, because so much of your work is devoted to exposing corruption, you and your son. Obviously, everybody knows what Nick Shirley was able to reveal to the public with the corruption that was going on with the system and some of these immigrants who are getting money for services that they were not actually providing. Is this just something that you believe that corruption is systemic to the United States now?
Can you say that again? Do I believe the corruption is what?
Systemic to the United States now.
Yes. There is massive amount of corruption in the United States. And as Nick and I have been doing this for the past few years, it's mind-blowing to me the amount of corruption that is going on in our state and in our country. And if people actually knew the amount of corruption, their minds would be blown. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And so much of it has been brought on literally by politicians because the politicians benefit from the corruption.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you give us a few examples? You make the statement that Americans would be just insanely upset about the amount of corruption, but can you give us a few examples, maybe pick a few states where the corruption is at the highest level, and give us a few examples for the audience?
Well, let's just talk about Minnesota, what was going on in Minnesota. When Nick and I went to Minnesota, we went last June and we made a video there on how the country is being changed, or not the country, the state is being changed because of the Somalian population, which is huge there, and it's overtaking. And Christianity is, in some of these small towns in Minnesota, Christianity isn't there anymore because the Lutheran churches, the Presbyterian churches, the Mormon churches, they've been replaced with mosque. They're turning into mosque now. The Safeway is now like a grocery store you'd see in Somalia. The town is completely changed. So we went there to cover that and to see what was going on. And that is when we were introduced to the fraud. I knew a little bit about the Feeding Our Future fraud, but I didn't know that much. But part of this corruption in Minnesota, let's say Minneapolis, in order to win a government position like Ilhan Omar, I asked the Muslims, I said, how do you guys vote for her? How do you support her? She doesn't even support your values. And this one boy told me, he's a Muslim, and he said, Ilhan Omar, she doesn't support our values. We don't support same-sex marriages. We don't support the whole trans movement. We have different things that we support in our religion. She doesn't support that. Or, she goes against what we believe, but the Somalians will vote for her because every Somalian is going to vote the same. They all vote together, and they're going to vote for her because she supports them. Even though she doesn't support their religion, she goes against what they believe, but she will support them. Saying supporting them, a lot of this fraud, allegedly, which I believe, will be traced back to her. So even like Jacob Frey and Keith Ellison and Governor Tim Walz, there's no way that they could not have known what was going on, but they kept it going because that group of people, the Somalians, they're all going to vote in the same block, therefore they're going to vote for them. So just like in Minnesota, the daycares, we go and there's no kids there, and these daycares, I did a story last night. There's one daycare, I think it was called Minnesota Best Daycare. $3.4 million it made last year, 127 children. How does a daycare make $3.4 million? Well, a lot of the daycares, if you go back to the funding, a lot of these daycares donated right straight to Tim Walz's campaign. So they need this corruption, just like in California, this homeless corruption that's going on. $24 billion just somehow disappeared. Well, who's running all these NGOs? Most of all these NGOs are related to the politicians. You just have to do a little bit of research, and it's all like a tangled web, and this tangled web has to keep going because they're all involved in it. And that's why they don't want to ever lose their power, because once they do lose their power, that web might unfold a little bit.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of corruption going on.
Oh, yeah. It's
they
so apparent.
They prey on the innocent.
Yeah, they most
prey on
certainly do.
children, elderly, and homeless people.
Yeah, they're being used. That's what you're pointing out with the Somalians is they are absolutely being used, and once they don't have a purpose for them anymore, they'll be taken care of. And what you're talking about too, you brought up a really interesting point centered around the red-green axis. You've got these communists that are in power, political power in the United States, and that's what they are. They're communists, ladies and gentlemen. But they're using this green axis, the jihadists, Islam, for a purpose here. And Carlos the Jackal, I've talked about this before on my show, Carlos the Jackal, the infamous Muslim terrorist, said that only a red-green axis, the communists and the Islamicists, can defeat the West. And that is what's happening in states like Minnesota.
Yeah, it's happening. Like, people need to wake up. People need to wake up. And we've been to the United Kingdom many times covering what's going on there. It's massively going on there, and they're in their government. Now they have leadership positions, and people warn us. They're like, don't let what happened to the United Kingdom happen in America, because if we lose America, like, we've lost it all. So, they're telling us, we're warning you, this can happen. We're warning you, you guys need to do something about it. But we have people that keep voting these type of people in, just like in New York City. How did Zohar Mamdani become the mayor of that city? It's very frightening. And I think a lot of like college students, a lot of the younger generation think, oh, well, we're just being kind. We accept everybody and we love everybody, and it's okay. But yeah, it's great to be kind and to love and accept everybody, but they totally go against our country, and our values, and it soon can just slip away, just like it's happening in Minnesota.
Sure. I mean, if you would have told me, I was in the Marine Corps when 9/11 occurred, and if you would have told me that New York City would elect a Marxist jihadist as their mayor, some 20-something years later, I would have laughed at you, and I think most of the American public would have laughed at you. If you go to Minneapolis and you're on a plane and you're looking over and you see nothing but people in burqas loading the luggage onto the plane, and you're like, wait a minute, aren't we still in the war on terror? Like, and these are the people that are responsible for the baggage that they're loading on the plane. Like, is that a problem? Do we see a problem here?
Yeah, I know. It's very frightening. It's very frightening. But as America, we've been so gracious to these people, and we've let them come in, and we've literally taken care of them. And in the meanwhile, they're infiltrating into everywhere and changing America. We're based on Christian values. We're a country that's so strong in 250 years because of great people who have built our country with freedom.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the founding fathers obviously they wrote about this so many times about their creator, the architect. They're all pointing to God. They got this idea of a republican form of government from the book from Exodus, and then I mean that is our roots as Americans. We examine the population that's coming in now. They really are. I think it's fair to say foreign invaders. Many of them are adhering to Sharia law, which is like oil and water with the Constitution, and they put a bigger emphasis on Sharia law versus our Constitution and the rights that are, I never want to say they're constitutional rights because they're God-given rights, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll totally change our country if we don't take control of it and if people don't wake up.
Yeah, as I travel this country myself, I see once great cities, and you've been traveling a lot more than I have, but I see once great cities that are in decay, and I see a culture that doesn't appreciate the architecture, the buildings that have gone up, in some cases, a century before, and I see people that will defecate on the streets. Sorry to be crass here, but this is what's going on. They'll use the local river as a bathroom. You got homeless people all over the place doing drugs and just passing out and using sidewalks as their homes. This is a country that's in decay, not thriving.
No, it's not thriving. And Nick and I, we have been to so many big cities here in America. Let's just take Seattle, for example. You're in Spokane, Washington. I'm sure you've been to Seattle a lot. We used to live in the Seattle area. I used to take my kids there all the time. Yes, there were homeless people, but it was homeless people, if you gave them a bag of clothes and blankets and shampoo and stuff, they were so grateful for it. Now, Seattle, Washington, the homeless people, they're homeless, but they're not like the old school homeless people. These are people that are strung out on drugs. Even if you gave them a bag of clothes or something, they wouldn't care about it. All they care about is getting drugs. If you go to Seattle, Washington, a beautiful, beautiful city, once you get above Pike's Place, I've done a video on it. Maybe you could go, I don't even know the ratio, but every building you go to, it's empty. There's no shopping there anymore. Nordstrom's is still there. Everything is empty. There's nowhere to eat. Cheesecake factories left. What big city does a cheesecake factory live in? Not that often. Seattle, Washington, it is gone. Seattle, Washington is dead because they've allowed the criminals, the people on fentanyl, the drug addicts, the drug dealers, the people who are pooing and peeing on the street to rule that street. Rule. The only smell that you smell in Seattle, Washington is urine or feces, or you smell the smell after the power washers have came through and washed the streets off. And I'm not exaggerating at all. It is a shame what is going on in Seattle, Washington, a shame. And Seattle, Washington, just like in California, you could go into a store, and I talked to some security guards that are standing outside of stores. You could steal up to $900 worth of stuff and just walk right on out, and the security guards won't stop you. And the criminals know that. That's why there is no shopping left in Seattle, Washington.
Yeah, I mean, it
It's
makes absolute
sad.
sense. Yeah, you bring up a really interesting point about the homeless population, because there was a time where, yes, people were homeless, but they would go and they would go be a day laborer, and go back and have that money and eat with it. And they were appreciative of any handouts that were given. And many of them were trying to go, especially through more of the Christian organizations, go to these missions that would help them, assist them, get them their GED, for example, so they could be productive members of society. But the homeless now is a whole nother class, and you pointed that out so well. They're entitled. They don't care about anything other than their next fentanyl hit, which is one of the most tragic things to ever see. You see somebody on fentanyl, and I'm a former EMT. It literally destroys not only the person, but the family as well.
Yeah, the fentanyl has taken over and it destroys you. And if you walk in any big city in America, you will see people that literally don't even have their limbs anymore because the fentanyl has eaten away at their legs. Or they'll have these big, huge, open, raw flesh, big open wounds because of what the fentanyl has done to them. And they don't care. All they care about is getting their next fix. And in Seattle, Washington, and in other cities, the drug dealers are standing on the corner giving them the drugs. And the police have been taken out of the whole situation. They just have, I don't know the correct name right now. I can't think of it, but it's like a social worker literally just walking around and passing out water bottles, granola bars, and Narcan. So if someone, is dead, they're going to give them a little sniff of Narcan and bring him back to life. And that has replaced the police in big cities all over America.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And once again, as a former EMT, I can tell you that the Narcan, while it does its job, the fentanyl is actually stronger. And so one dose of Narcan, yeah, you'll bring them back. And ladies and gentlemen, it's literally like bringing somebody back from the dead. And typically they're mad at you because you took away their high. I've definitely been swung on a number of times working on the ambulance. But the fentanyl will take back over, and oftentimes they'll drop right back down and be in the same position.
Oh, yeah, right back down in the same position. My son did a video in Kensington, Philadelphia. It is probably one of the best videos he's ever done. And just out there walking around Kensington, Philadelphia with all the drug addicts and talking to them. I've been to Kensington, Philadelphia myself. It's very, very bad. But Seattle, Washington is right up there with being bad. San Francisco, LA, San Diego, a beautiful, like San Diego, I grew up in San Diego. Downtown San Diego, beautiful. Not so beautiful anymore. It is awful what has happened in America.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I was born in San Francisco. I used to love that city. I went to boot camp in San Diego. San Diego used to be one of my favorite spots to travel to. My wife absolutely loves it there, but not so much anymore. It's scary.
Yeah.
You don't want to go downtown. We're actually coming up on a hard break, but I want to make sure people follow you. You're all across all the different social medias under Brooker T. Jones. That's Brooker, Brooker Tee Jones. We're showing that on X, but you can find her on TikTok, Facebook as well. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back. We're going to do another 15 minutes. This is Caleb Collier with churchandstate.media. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not sleeping on MyPillow, do you even patriot? I got to tell you, this is the most wonderful stuff from a man who's given it all for your freedoms. Whether it be the pillow, the sheets, or the slippers, I absolutely adore MyPillow. MyPillow has the greatest products around. I know when I want to shuffle around in my bathrobe and slippers and yell at the neighbors, of course I'm buying from MyPillow. I need you to head on over to churchandstate.media, scroll over to shop, because every single time that you purchase any of these products using the promo code Church and State, you ensure that we keep our message out on the air.
I thank everybody for your support in using promo code Church and State. You guys go to mypillow.com/Church and State too, and then you get your own little platform right there, everybody.
And we are back, and thank you for staying with us. You're over at churchandstate.media. I'm going to go right back to my guest, but real quick, let me plug one of our awesome affiliates, and I'm thinking Methylene Blue with Best 365 Labs. Ladies and gentlemen, I love methylene blue. I use it daily, and it has been such a game changer for me with mental clarity. And the other side effect that I did not expect, it helped me with my sleep as well. Now, look, there's a lot of garbage out there on the market, a lot of stuff coming from China that is not high quality stuff. So you got to be careful with it. That's why I like Best 365 Labs. Go check them out. Their methylene blue is superb. Use the promo code Church and State. You're going to get a discount, and you'll help support us. And one more time, hit the donate button for us. Keep conversations like this happening because they're so essential to restoring our republic. All right, with that, let's go back to our guest, Brooke Shirley. And we were talking about just the state of America and so many of the different cities within our once beautiful land. I want to take the next 15 minutes, Brooke, if you don't mind, and talk about hope, because I don't want to be one of these shows. I say this a lot. I don't want to be one of these doom and gloom shows. I want to talk about hope, how we can actually fix things. And I know you got some ideas on this.
Yeah, that is one important thing, because if we don't have hope, then everything is gone. Like, we need to have hope. And I have hope in America. I believe we are going to stay a strong nation. And I have hope in our youth. And this, I'll talk about Nick for a second here. This is why I thought with Nick, it was so important for him to be a voice for the young generation. I said to my son, I said, you know what? You can reach people. I could get out there and say as loud as I wanted to, get on a soapbox and say this, but people aren't going to pay attention to me. I said, people will pay attention to you. You can get the young generation. The young generation is our future. If we don't have hope in our young generation, I don't know what is going to become of America. And Nick was able to reach the youth. He has people coming up to him in the grocery store all the time and saying, hey, because of you, I changed the way I think about politics. Because of you, I knew that we had an open border. They didn't know that Joe Biden was flooding our country full of illegal immigrants, but because of Nick getting out there and showing what was taking place in America, it opened their eyes. Because of you, we've had people reach out to us that Nick has interviewed their child on the street, strung out on fentanyl. You know, because of you, I saw my child. We were in Eugene, Oregon, and we were speaking to one of the homeless youth there. His mom was watching the live stream. His mom saw his son on Nick's live stream. So because of Nick being able to do what he's done, he's brought hope to America, and he's opened up people's eyes as to what is happening. And I think it's made a whole generation think, we need to step up. We need to protect our country. We need to protect our children. We need to do something about what they're being taught in school. We can't just sit back and let this happen, you know? Our kids are being indoctrinated at school. You know, he spoke out about college, what young adults are learning in college, what the professors are doing, you know? So we as a community, like I said, it's just us, but it's just you who's ever watching this. And if you don't have a voice, if you don't stand up for what you believe in, you're going to fall. We all have to stand up for what we believe in, and we have to stand up for our country. Because in 250 years from now, what is our country going to be? We built this amazing country in 250 years, you know? We can't let it fall. So together, we have to have hope in our future, and we have to have hope in our country, and simply just be the best person you can be. Go out every day. Try to be kind to people. Open a door for someone. Let people know they're loved. That's the best way you can be an American, is just to love people. And I feel like when we're on the streets interviewing people that are strung out on fentanyl, or when we're down at the border and we're seeing people come through, I still feel love for them because they're a human being, you know, and they want a good life, and you want to help people. But our government officials, so many of them are just taking advantage of the most vulnerable people. And if you truly want to do something, you need to get out and vote. You need to not think your vote doesn't matter. You need to vote for good people in your community, because that's where it starts. You know, and people need to know that, because we are America right now. We're the future of America, and we're raising the future of America. And we have to be good examples to them so America can stay a strong country.
Amen to that. I was listening to what you were saying there, and some of the more radical left will throw the accusation out there that people like us were filled with hate. And I was paying attention. I didn't hear a lot of hateful words coming out of your mouth there. I heard a lot about love for the people who are suffering, about wanting to hold people accountable that are taking advantage of the vulnerable. I think those accusations fall on deaf ears. I also so appreciate what you said about the youth. Because there's always been generational differences, and I'm Gen X myself. The baby boomer generation looked at my generation and they were like, get off my lawn. It's all you guys with your grunge rock, and you're so apathetic about everything. I did view the millennial generation with that same type of mindset. Like, these guys, what are they doing? They're wrecking things. That being said, this next generation, the Gen Z and even coming into the Gen Alpha, I see a radical transformation here. These kids are rejecting things. They're getting off of social media. They're getting rid of their smartphones. They're going back to flip phones, which is wild to me. And they're looking towards more orthodox beliefs. They're starting to go into more of the mainline Protestant churches. This is all really exciting news for me.
Yeah, it's exciting news for me too. I believe there's, just getting back to the word hope, I was going to say, I believe there's hope. I truly believe there is hope. And I believe that we sat back for a little bit. We all got a little bit soft. We all got a little bit comfortable sitting in our couches, and now it's like, whoa, we can't be that anymore. We can't just sit back and let this happen. We have to stand up.
You're absolutely right.
I have faith and I have hope in our young generation that is coming up.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, a lot of them are rejecting the colleges. They're in. I actually, when you were talking about your son there, I used to work for Turning Point, so I was probably at that event that he went to, working it. But Charlie Kirk did something where he was getting the youth to start rejecting these colleges that were just peddling communism and honestly Satanism. So you're seeing people move into the trades and everything. This is exciting for me as well, because if we get a whole bunch of tradesmen, guess what they like to do? They like to build. And that's exactly what this country needs.
Yeah, we do. We need tradesmen. We can't have lazy kids hanging out, or kids going to college for 20 years. It's like, what are you doing going to college for 20 years? And then they think that we're going to pay for it. The government's going to pay for them to go to college. And I hate to belittle college or anything. People should go to college if they'd like to be something great, like a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. But seriously, think about the trade schools. Think about them. Get a trade. We need people with trades, and we have dealt a lot with college campuses and a lot with college students, and the things that come out of these college kids' mouth, it is mind blowing to me. And I think, well, yeah, that professor's teaching you that, but that professor has been a professor for 50 years, relying on these kids to, So schooling in America, that needs a little bit of a redo.
Definitely. This is why I always encourage my audience. Look, private schools, homeschools, co-ops. There's a lot of different options out there, but get your kids out of public education, because it's not the school that you went to as a kid.
Seriously.
Let me ask you this as well. Somebody that travels a lot, and we are fast approaching the midterms, and this election is going to have some consequences. What do you see? Is there going to be a red wave, a blue wave, something in the middle?
I pray there's a red wave. But as we speak to people all over America, it goes both ways. It was just like during the election, I was afraid. I was like, oh my gosh, we talked to so many people. They want Harris to win. It was mind blowing to me. So you talk to people, they go both ways. So I just pray that we can hold on. And I'm telling everybody how important it is. So many people think, my vote doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter. And we saw what just took place in LA, That was really crazy there. But I believe we need to pass the SAVE Act. It is so important that we have to show ID before we vote. We did a whole video on voter fraud in California, and people that are 126 years old that are still voting. We need to clean up our voter rolls, and we need to pass the SAVE Act. And I hope and I pray that the people in charge of our country will stand up and pass the SAVE Act so we can have fair elections.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about this. Serious question here. Why do people that, hit 120s, 126 in this case, why do they always vote Democrat? Is it like this progression of once you hit this certain age, you're just like, I'm a Democrat now?
Yeah. Well, I just think it's magically they're just, someone told me the other day, and don't go look this up or anything, but if you think about LA, this election, I think they're still counting votes. So they can go through like voter rolls and see, or areas, well, who didn't vote here? Oh, Mrs. Sarah Smith, who's 126 years old, she's still receiving a ballot, but she didn't vote. Well, let's just, check it off here. So it's really important that we pass the SAVE Act. It's just common sense. We have to use an ID to go. I had to show my ID to get a badge, or I went through the airport today. I can't go through the airport without my ID. So how can we just do the most important thing in America and not have to show an ID to prove who we are? And if we did prove who we are, and if they did see our birth date, they would see that Mary Smith, that's 126 years old, she's really 76 years old, and they could clear it up just that quickly. We did a whole video on that, going to people who are 126 years old. We went and knocked on their doors and asked if they lived there, and they said, well, yeah, this is me, but I'm not 126 years old, and I didn't vote in 20 elections.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff going on.
If you're 126, maybe contact, Guinness Book of World Records. That might be your move right there. But
exactly. Yeah. They've lived a long life.
They certainly
it'd be
have.
so easy to clean up our voter rolls if we did have to show exactly who we are and show exactly our birth date.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're 126, don't vote Democrat. I'm just going to throw that out there for you. Last
know.
question for you, and then I'll let you go. I want to be cognizant of your time. But you're down at Freedom Fest, and you've been down there. You just got down there, actually. But you've been able to walk around. Tell the people, obviously it's a little late now, but, this is an annual event. Why they should come to Freedom Fest next year?
You should come to Freedom Fest because coming to events like this, it makes you feel alive. It makes you feel like, oh my gosh, there's people who are just like me. There's people who support what I support. There's good people. You feel comfortable. You feel loved. You feel like you go up and just hug someone, shake their hand. They're going to like you. They're going to want to have a conversation with you. It's just a really great feeling. And it's literally like going to church. It just gives you that uplift that you need. And it makes you want to go out in public and talk to people, to tell them, to inform them of what's going on. So it's just a great feeling. And coming to things like this, it is like going to church. You just get like a boost of energy that I can do this. Like, I'm going to be a freedom fighter. I'm going to fight for America. I'm going to fight for my children and my grandchildren so that America can stay the great place that it is.
I think that's really well said. Freedom Fest is an interesting mixture. It's Republicans, conservatives, libertarians. So it's not just your standard, MAGA event. There's going to be some conflicting ideas, some interesting ideas. But I'm all for that. I'm all for independent thought and listening to different voices. So I'm excited to get down there, meet with you personally. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a fantastic interview. Once again, I'm going to point everybody to your social medias. Chris will bring that up for the X. But let me get it right. Let me see. Brooker T. Jones right there. Brooker T. Jones. You can see it on X. You can find her on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm not sure if I asked you about Facebook, but I assume you're on there as well.
Yes, I am on Facebook.
Okay, so there you go. That's how you follow this incredible woman and all the work that she's doing. Once again, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for all that you're doing here and the work you're doing and coming on the show.
Thank you, and thank you for what you're doing too.
Absolutely.
We're all in this together.
Amen to that. We are. We got to fight together. That's for sure.
Yep,
otherwise, we're going to lose this country. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. If you hold on one more minute post-production to say our goodbyes, I'd appreciate it. But again, thank you for coming on Church and State.
Thank you.
All right, there you go.
Much.
Oh, absolutely. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Brooke Shirley, you can find her on the social medias, Brooker T. Jones. But this is a woman who just realized she just couldn't sit idly by. And I want that for all of you. This woman should be an example for all of you. Every single one of us can make a difference, can make changes if we simply get active. Church and State is brought to you in part by Colonial Life Spokane Independent Agents, Finders Insurance, and Mark37.com. I'm Caleb Collier. I was born for a storm.
Welcome to the fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you to be a walking billboard. Some of us don't have platforms such as Church and State, but you know what? We can wear t-shirts and engage in great conversations with Christians and patriots all across the country. Stand Up Now apparel is the best t-shirts out there. These are American-made, owned by a Christian and a patriot, and the material, it's like getting a warm hug from yours truly. One of the better things as well is there's no tags. I hate tags. I know you do as well. I don't know how many times I've cut off a tag and ended up with a hole in my shirt. You never have to worry about that with Stand Up Now apparel. These are the best shirts out there with the greatest messages. Let me give you a few examples. There's a t-shirt out there that says armed with Ephesians 6 on it. I gotta tell you, when I wear this in town, I get a lot of comments and a lot of eyebrow raises. There's other shirts that include pure blood in Hebrew, obviously in reference to the vaccines, and also you can get Church and State merch there as well. We've got our flagship shirt, I Was Born for a Storm, with Church and State right on it. You got to order this shirt. Go to Stand Up Now apparel for t-shirts and hats, all of this great merch with great Christian and patriotic messages. Remember to use that promo code Church and State.
This is Caleb Collier with Church and State. Are you tired of your device spying on you? Ladies and gentlemen, we live in 1984. Your phones, your tablets, your smart televisions, they all are spying on you. And this is why I heavily endorse Mark37.com. This is everything you need for your digital privacy. Phones, tablets, laptops, all of them are ghost protocoled. So that means that you are in charge of your own data. Just go to churchandstate.media, scroll over to shop, and hit mark37.com for all of your privacy needs. Make sure to use that promo code Church and State. Hey, this is Caleb Collier with the Church and State podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you to go to Galileo.com. You need to stay connected no matter what comes our way. Whether it's government intrusion or a meteor falling from the sky, Galileo has you connected. As a Marine veteran, I can tell you that communications is essential. Galileo has you connected. Whether it's worldwide coverage, uncensored content, or real-time alerts, Galileo is going to make sure that you're connected with your friends, family, and neighbors. Just head on over to churchandstate.media, scroll over to shop, and hit Galileo.com. Make sure to ask them for a free bivvy stick, and make sure to use that promo code Church and State.